What is going on, everybody? This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman, and you're checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast, where we help you tap into your full potential. And on this week, I got my dog with me, another 3D member. I had Coach Cal on, and now I got my dog on from the VA. Like, when I tell you, this brother here is one of those, and he just said it before we came on. Lead by example. Like he's not gonna say nothing if he's not gonna stand on it. Like he's that type of person that's gonna make shit happen, and he's gonna make sure the people around him is focused. A little bit of highlight about him. The CoVA group out of Virginia Beach. Him and his team does amazing things. So if you're looking to buy, sell, and invest in real estate in the Virginia Beach area, Coastal Virginia Collective Realty, his team does that. Not only that, he is a motivational speaker, pumps up the crowd, gets people into action, gets them going. I had the pleasure of doing an event with him last year where we did the pop up in Virginia Beach. It was a 2-day event where people from across the country went there and we were able to pour into people. But enough about that. Let me bring my dog to the stage. Agent K, what's going on, big dog? How are you?
Hello, hello, aloha. I'm good, brother. I'm good. I am thankful and grateful for the opportunity to collab with you today. It's been amazing to be in relationship with you. Watch your growth and watch this podcast take off. And I'm here to contribute any value I can, man. So thank you for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Like again, like I said in the intro, you are one of those people that I know if I need some real talk, I know me, I'm a bullshitter. So if I need to really get the real, I'm gonna holler at you like, hey, this is going on. Let me talk to you. And I had Dixon on, and he said the same thing. He was like, Kay is one of those people that I'm gonna reach out to when I gotta have a conversation and I want his advice on things. With that being the case, like what is it for you? Because it's like everybody looks at you as one of those people like, man, I'm gonna holler at Kay. I need to talk to him about some stuff. How did you grow into that? I know your story. So was that something that you learned, just going through your career, or what made that come about? Where it's like you are that person that people like to, tap into.
I think that's like a loaded question, right? And like everybody sees me today as 37, soon to be 38-year old, Agent K with this family and these businesses and locked in. And yet, it took 37 years of life experience to grow into the person I am and to curate those relationships and commitments in those relationships, right? Both personally and professionally. And so I know my story a little bit is like, when I was growing up, my mom had me at 16. And so, she was leading by example at an early age, but we were both thrust into leadership. And as she grew her family, I have twin sisters and a little brother. And she was married 2 or 3 times. So I've been a part of multiple families. And I say that to say is that I think I have a little bit of PTSD daddy issues in that I was the first kid. I wasn't raised with my biological father, had other father figures, but as they moved on or my mother moved on from them, right? Those men who raised me like oftentimes would come back and take my sisters, to go visit or take my little brother to go visit because that was their kid, right? And I was like, "Wait a minute, you helped raise me like I
Right.
want to go too. Like I still loved you in my time of life." And so I think that as I grew up, I had an affinity to like, or a need, a subconscious need that to be loved, right? And
Right.
to show up in a way that like I wanted people to love me because I had enough people come in and out of my life and just leave me, where I was at the time. And so it was like, even today, my wife asked, like, "Hey, why do you show up for people like that?" And the main thing I like to say is I show up for people the way I want to show up for them or that they need is because I always wish that somebody would have showed up for me like that. And so I
Mhm.
always want to be that person for others is that, hey, somebody's got your back. And in a lot of cases, like I like showing up. It fills my cup to like be there for people for sure.
Right. And what you're saying that is actually it's interesting because I figured out that about me last year. Whereas like, why am I always, attached to the underdog? Or if there's somebody starting a business or coming into the real estate industry and they seem like they're struggling, I get attached to them. And I realize for me is I've operated through life with not trusting people, and I always just did stuff on my own. And if I see people going down that route, I always attach to them like, nah, you don't need to go do this on your own. You and so with you saying that, it made me think like, okay, this is really a thing of life situations and the way we grew up and the way things happen. It we tend to see those people and we're wanting to pour back into them and we want to be there to help them.
Yeah, I think you and I were both at a conference together, and Ed Milet was the guest speaker. He's a large
Yeah.
motivational speaker, and he said, we are best able to serve the people that we once were, right? And so when you see yourself in others, the underdog, the person that may or may not come from the best environment, the person that is pushing hard to overcome we want to show up for them because that is who we attach ourselves to, our own identity. And so, no, I totally understand what you mean by that for sure.
Yeah, and I see that too with you because again, you're somebody that I look up to on a lot of levels, and I came out there and I stayed with you. Like that's a big thing too. Like I never want to intrude on people. I'm like, look, I'll go get a hotel. You're like, no, you can stay with me. And I'm like, bro, that's a big thing. Like you opening up your home to somebody, and then just seeing you interact with the kids, the Kina kids, like, and it's like you show up the way you need to show up for them. And like you said, that comes from, you not having that for you, that you
Mhm.
want to make sure that they feel that love and they feel that. And we went to K, his practice, you was there. We hung out and took them to go bowling. Like it was just showing up like that on a high level. And you you sh- you do something for a lot of people, like especially because you share that on social media. And I hate to say this, but it probably for some dudes that's not showing up the way they supposed to, they're like, okay, let me get my shit together. Like I can be doing a lot more for them. So I do want to commend you for that because again, you show up the way you're supposed to show up.
No, and I appreciate that. And I think that's probably one of the little unique subconscious connectivity, actions or things that happen is that, we're in a business and we're talking about business is a relationship of people, right? Like relationship up and down the chain of command or however you need to lead. But in life, I've learned that relationships are one of the core principles that which can move you through life, right? Both positively and negatively. And so like being able to share, my safe space with my family, like there's a little bit of a law of reciprocity. Like I'm willing to open up my house. I also want to see if you respect my household, right? Like how you show up at the crib, how you engage with my kids, like because I am interested in getting to know people. We can all be at different stations in life or business or whatever, but I'm always like, you can learn from anybody. And I learned that in the military. Like you have a chain of command, that's for structure and that's for titles. But I'm learning from my sailors every day, from my peers and from the captain. And I do that the same in business. I may have a position, but I learn from my agents every single day. It's like, how do I take those lessons and become better? Always being open to receiving the lesson of life or business. And so now it was super cool to have you over into my house, right? And you came to my child's basketball game. You hung out and played pickleball in the backyard. We worked out. We went to and fro events, and that's like the curation of real relationship. And I
Yeah.
think that's when you really get into access of like real people's real feelings, real actions, real activities. And like now I know Jesse will have my back if I'm ever in a crunch because we've created something that is much more bigger than a superficial relationship. And I think that's one of my superpowers is I love being in relationship with good people.
Right. And then it was something I want to highlight that you said too is that a lot of people that you're not satisfied. Like you've accomplished a lot, but you just said something like you want to grow from people. Like you grow from your ages, you grow from your peers. And a lot of people that get to a certain level, they feel like they know everything or they can't learn things. And I think that's one of that separates you from a lot of people that, you know, Rainmaker own a team, own different companies that they feel like I can't learn stuff from anybody else, or as bad as it seems, they be like, "Well, I can't learn from people that's under me." But you are a natural learner, where it's like you can always learn things from people, and you never you're never not willing to ask a question.
Yeah.
Like you hit me up like, hey, you know about this, and I'm like, damn, okay, okay, yeah, this like that. But you don't you that's not an issue for you. Like if it's something you want to know or you want to get pointed to the right direction, you have no problem with doing that. And I can say a lot of people probably struggle with, and it's not asking for help. It's just like seeking information out. And
Hmm.
then does that go back to your military days, being in the Navy, of like, let me get information from different people to make sure I can get what I'm looking for?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps me very positively in a lot of aspects. And sometimes it hurts me because I'm confident and able enough to just go take action. Like I don't always need that. However, in my family, in basketball and sports, right? I went to the Naval Academy and played basketball, Division One, won a gold medal in the military, but also leading as an officer in the Navy. It's like you always like there's a mission that you have to complete, right? And it's mission critical. Like asking the right questions is only going to get you better answers. And so there's never a time where I'm ever embarrassed or shy. Like I'm seeking to find a resolution, right? And I'm never scared to ask anybody because I know if somebody asks me a question, I'll do my best to help them. So there's never there's always a give and take. And I know that there's enough value in my world that if you ever need anything, I'm going to show up for you. So I don't have any shame in asking because I know how I show up for others and I just get to see how people would show up for me. And it's okay whether they're willing to be open and honest, whether it seems like they're holding some things back. It doesn't matter to me. For me, there's a goal or an end result I'm trying to achieve, and questions is just a part of the path to get there. And I think that if more people would ask more clarifying questions, there would be more clarity. And I believe clarity provides confidence. It's when we're uncertain or there's not a lack of clarity that we then become questioning of our own abilities,
Yeah,
right? And so there's an old saying that like practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And so if you don't know what a perfect practice looks like in basketball, you can go shoot layups all day. If you're jumping off the wrong foot, you're never going to do a layup the right way, right? Or the
yeah.
way to hold your follow through or this or that. So like I think sports definitely helped, the military definitely helped, and then life definitely helped. So yeah, like that is one of the pathways to success is you have to be comfortable asking a lot of questions if you don't understand, right? For sure.
Right. So, you all that listen every week or watch, again, I always point out stuff and highlight. So, write that down, take note of that. Don't be afraid to, it's not asking for help, but just getting information. You want to know something, don't let your ego get in the way. Don't feel like it's something wrong with asking questions because, again, we're always looking to grow. If we're not growing, we're dying. So, if it's some stuff you need to know, some questions you need answered, don't don't hesitate to reach out to people to get those questions answered.
And I think that in the beginning, it's okay to just ask a lot of questions. I
Yeah.
think as you make higher level connections in whatever piece of life, it's the quality of your question, right? And I do know that, like, when some people ask me questions, I can tell quite frankly and fairly easily if they've done any research, if they did anything, or was it just a lazy question because they just wanted to get right? And so
Yeah.
there's a difference too, especially when you're approaching certain people, like the quality of your questions and the standpoint or the framework in which you ask it is very important, right? Because you don't just want to become an ask hole, is what they call it. ASK
Yeah.
hole, where like you just ask a whole bunch of questions and never implement. But like, did you do some level of research? Did you try to access different things? Did you talk to other people and just want a perspective, right? I think the quality of the question is important too.
Okay. All right. So before I go to the next thing, I want to ask about that. Like, with you being a person that a lot of people do reach out to and ask for help, how do you make sure you're keeping your battery charged? Because it gets to a point where you get a lot of people reaching out to you about stuff, and sometimes it can probably get a little draining. How do you make sure you keep your battery charged to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think the investment of people, right? The investment of my time into different people is kind of like the real estate market.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's up, sometimes they're down, sometimes there's huge returns, and sometimes you just lost on that one, right? And so when you ask that question, some of my fulfillment comes in from connecting with people like you who we have a conversation and then I see you implement and then now you're growing. Like I
Okay.
get fulfillment out of you growing. And then all of a sudden you subconsciously think that I'm like this great guy because I was just able to have real conversation at real times for you, right? Then there's other people, you give them everything you can. I give them the same exact thing and then nothing ever happens, right? And I tell people all the time when we go to these events or whatever, they're like, hey, can I hit you up? Please do. Like, here's my Zoom calendar, schedule a consult or a meeting or just get to know each other. And honestly, it takes care of itself in like the first three Zooms, right? And so it'll
Yeah.
be like a 15-minute intro. We'll talk and, well, what you got going on? What are the books you read? Blah, blah, blah. How can we grow? What are you looking for from me? Like, what do you need specifically, right? And they'll say X, Y, or Z. And then the next week, it'll either be they showed up in such a way that I'm getting impressed and like I want to learn more. Like, who is this person? What's their
Right.
background? Why are they such a high driver? What's holding them back? I love to do that because then now you're growing with that person. You get to experience a journey that's not yours, but you get to learn from it. Specifically, like currently I'm at the Keller Williams brokerage, right? And I love Keller Williams. And, Gary Keller is by all accounts the real estate, godfather. And I believe Gary Keller is super smart. I definitely believe that. I also believe that a lot of his nuggets comes from the combination of the collective mindset of all the top leaders he's in conversation with, right? Gary Keller is so smart because he gets to take all the smartest ideas from all the smartest business owners and then recreate it as his own, right? I think that's
Yeah.
genius. And so for me, I get that from other people in life, like where Jesse's at in his training, coaching, and speaking business. I'd love to talk to you about it because there's probably pieces of it I can take away or that I can curate that I know that from your journey, I'm going to learn from it. If I decide to go on that journey,
Right.
I already have a playbook, right? And in all actuality, the people that don't show up, they just kind of disappear into the mist, right? It's kind
Right.
of like, oh, I set up that call, then they never do. Bet like it's not a waste of my
Yeah.
time. Or they set up a call and then they don't come to the next one. That's okay. There's only so many things where like once you establish who you are, they'll be embarrassed or ashamed or whatever, like to get back on. And it's like the
Right.
next time you see them, they're like, hey, Kat. I'm like, hey, man, don't make it all good, man. Like maybe we just weren't meant to meet in that space. There might become another opportunity, but it's all good, right? Like it just didn't. So like that's where I get it. I get fulfillment in the process of getting to know people because just as much of people that may waste or drain my time, I've probably learned a little bit of something. But it's the people that show up in the highest regard that just make that return exponential. So it's really good for me.
It's funny because that's one of the things I love about you because you will call the person out quick. Like you were like, hey, I thought we were supposed to meet. What happened? You always show up. Like you will let a person know, like, hey, you're not just gonna slip by and not show up and don't think I'm not gonna say nothing about it. Like I love that about you. Like you gonna, and again, that goes back to one of the reasons I do like talking to you because again, you're gonna call me out like, hey, this is bullshit, or okay, this and that. Like you're gonna keep it real, and it's a lot of people that's afraid to do that, and I don't know why. I don't know if they feel like people won't feel like they're their friend or what, but
Mm.
people need that type of person in their life because as long as you keep having people around that's going to be yes man or let you bullshit, you're never going to grow. You're not going to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's as we all grow through life, right? We learn how to communicate better. We understand how important our environments are. We understand the people that can help level us up, and we understand some spaces that are just meant to be that space, and that's it, right? And so, I think we all crave a certain level of accountability and responsibility. We just want it in the right way or whatever way we deem at the moment. So, yeah,
Right.
it's like that's why I said like I'm not here to even in those moments, I do it almost as a joke. Like, "Dang, did you schedule that Zoom and you didn't come on? Everything okay? Did something happen
Right.
that I don't know about?" Right? It's all good, you know what I'm saying? But I try to keep it lighthearted, but people need to know like how important it is to show up for people because the most important like thing that can help us grow in business and life professionally are people. And so
Yeah.
you got to really treat people at max the way you want to be treated, right? Because it definitely has so many effects. I can name 20 mentors or people that have created major spaces in my life to include you, right? In terms that have made me a better person, man, business owner, and everything for sure.
Now let's go to the time of playing basketball, D1. the flying Hawaiian. Man, like, I see pictures and videos, your highlight reels. I'm like, look at my boy out there dropping buckets. So what was that like for you playing Division 1 basketball? Because a lot of people never don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, so I was fortunate and blessed to find basketball as a sport as my first love in the world. Everybody knows, even my wife knows, basketball was my first love, right? Spalding was my girl, like she was the first one, right? And if you didn't know, Spalding is a brand of basketball, right?
Right.
But like that was my first love, and so my high school team in Arizona was ranked pretty high. We were a top 40 team in the country going into my junior and senior years. I had some really good basketball players on my team, so I had the benefit of like being with other top guys, right? So like one of my teammates was the Gatorade Player of the Year 2 years in a row. My point guard went Division 1, and so he was a transfer from New York, and so I got to play with some really good players. And what I learned in that moment is like their recruiting helped my recruiting because people came to see them and they got to see me, right? And so how you show up in situations where you're not always the man is very indicative of the level of opportunity you can also get. And so like in that experience, like I had a really good high school team. I may not have been the best player the whole time. I mentally thought I was, but I can look back and be like, I had better players on my team. But it afforded me the opportunity to go to the Naval Academy. I had 5 Division 1 offers coming out of high school. Went on our visits. The Naval Academy was just a parent's dream. And so when my mom and my aunt went on the visit, they pretty much picked it for me. And I'm glad they did. It was an amazing experience. But yeah, Division 1, got to play some really great players: Georgetown, Roy Hibbert, Jeff Green, Villanova, Mike Nardi, all them guys. Like, so I got to play some really high level basketball, and honestly, it was probably one of the best 4 year stretches of my life, with the exception of starting my family, right? But like, if I could go do it and play all over again, I would. Like it was one of the
Yeah.
best opportunities in my career. And so we were really good. We sucked in the beginning. We were like 9 and 18, 11 and 16, and then we were 14 and 16. My senior year, we were like 19 and 11. Ended up averaging 18 points a game. I made all first team, all these things. Ended up in the Hall of Fame in high school and college. And then I played a little bit in the military too. Won a gold medal at the all military games. And so basketball has not only been an amazing sport, but it allowed me to meet people I would have never met, leadership I would never met, strong men in my life to, play the father figure for me as I grew up. And then all kinds of lessons learned, from dedication and commitment to teamwork to all those things, right? And so, I've been kicked off teams plenty of times. I've been benched. I've been all the things. And so basketball was just a way that I got to learn a lot about life through the sport. And then it just helped me be better at life. So yeah,
Yeah.
man. And I'm still a little nice today. I'm getting back in shape for my LeBron year. You know what I'm saying?
Sir.
So we'll see how it goes. We have a big pro-am league here in Virginia called the Virginia Hoop League. And so one of my best friends, Tillman Dunbar, is a former Academy grad. We sponsor a team and get to play together. So I'm excited for this year. This might be one of my last hurrahs, but I'm working on it.
So you said something a little bit, and I want to touch on that because I don't want that to go over people's head. I don't want them to just go past that. You said you still showed up even if you wasn't the main person, even if you wasn't the most talented person. You still showed up and took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
For y'all listening, do not go past that. If you are in a position where you may not feel like you are the main person, you're not getting the attention you feel you deserve or you want, just still show up and do the things that you're supposed to do, because that opportunity will come. And as we know, and I know Kay, you know this for long, people are watching even if they're not saying nothing.
Mm-hmm.
People are paying attention. So again, this is one of those times you taking notes, write it down, still show up, give 120%, even if I'm not the main person right then and there, because somebody is watching and it's going to create those opportunities that I didn't think were there for me.
Yeah. My coach used to say, like, practice hard all the time, right? The main thing you can control is your attitude, your energy, and your effort. And I talk about it with my kids now. My son is 7 and he's getting into hoop. But like, your attitude is like positivity, like controlling your emotions in any situation, right? Your energy is like work hard, like work hard, right? Always put in the work. And your effort is try your best. Like working hard and trying your best are two different things to me. Like you can work hard and not be trying your best, right? Like it's hard work, but like trying your best in the work. And so like I had a great opportunity to, get some scholarship offers off the strength of my teammates being great. And then I had the great opportunity of becoming a starter and a Hall of Fame basketball player because like I always just wanted to be the best. And in all those years, over the course of those 8 years, let's just call it high school and college, I was probably the best player one of those years. It's crazy to think about, but yet I had a Hall of Fame high school career and college career, but I was probably the best player one of those years, right? I had other better players on my team. But one thing that I always like, you can't get around is like, I just wanted it more. Like I'm Hawaiian. I wasn't the most athletic. I wasn't the fastest. I was supposed to be surfing or being an offensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
So like, did I have athletic ability? The answer is yes, but nobody wanted it more than me. Nobody played harder than me. And one of my strengths is like nobody communicated more than me. Like I knew how to talk off and on the court. Like I was not scared to get it. They called, I played with my emotions on my sleeve. And if you were my teammate, you loved it. And sometimes the coaches hated it and I got benched or threatened to kick off the team because I just really loved the game and I wanted to be great. But in all those years, like I was only the best player, maybe 1 year. All the other years, you can point to other people that were better than me. And yet, I was able to find success in that. So that was a really cool point you made, Jesse. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And then another point, a part of that, this was something I wanted to bring up, and you kind of segued into it. Another thing about you is no matter what the situation is, you stay cool, calm, and collective. You don't let the emotions out. Like even if it's behind closed doors, and whatever your system is to dealing when stuff happen. But when you are public facing, you are stoic. You're like, okay, this happened. Okay, what's the solution? And it's funny because we talked about this before, like when we have our monthly masterminds or something. If somebody is complaining and going into something, you'll come in with a little joke or you'll move on to the next thing. And I'm like, that has to be that military in them because it's like, okay, it's no point in complaining if you don't have a solution or if you're not trying to fix it. If you're just complaining to complaining, I'm not trying to hear that. I don't want you wasting the call complaining. Let's move on to the next thing. So was that something that, and I got this from you. This is one of the things I picked up from you, for me personally, is okay. Just keep going. Like something happened. What is the solution? Don't just keep talking about it, and I'm not doing nothing to change it. Was that something you learned from the military, or it's just life in general that took you to that point?
I think life teaches a lot of lessons, but I will give a lot of the credit to the military. At the end of the day, there's a mission that needs to be accomplished, right? And there's like results that need to be driven. And we're a people centric military. I mean, it's ran by military men and women, right? And so it's like at the end of the day, what I had to learn was there's a problem and there's a solution. And the problem is never a human problem, it's usually a situation. So it's not me against you, it's us against the situation. And once we can get over that hurdle, we become very solution oriented, right? And so, and like honestly, when I think about life, I was in the military during wartime. We were at ships, we were positioned in wartime environments where we were shooting missiles into foreign countries. And these are like real things that are happening, right? When I think about our business life, although there are very important things like missing a deadline or somebody not doing this right, like it's not a big deal to me. Like I was literally shooting missions approved by the Secretary of Defense and the Chief of Naval Operations. And if we didn't get it approved in time, like our chain of command was getting it to like, hey, I had a guy show up late and he's consistently showing up late. Like, hey, let's find the solution. What's the problem? Like, why is he showing up late? Right. And so I did become very solution oriented in the military, like just getting to nitty gritty of what needs to happen and removing, I call it evidence over emotion. And then the last thing is my first captain. He was one of the best leaders I ever served under. He actually is the interim chief of naval operations at this very moment, which is a really cool thing, right?
That's dope.
Just that he has that opportunity. So it shows, in my opinion, I come from a pretty good leadership tree, which I can attest to him being one of the best leaders. But when I was a 21-year-old naval officer going on a ship, we all have that cool guy syndrome. I played basketball. The ship loved me. So I got into relationship in my position with the ship, right? Department heads, enlisted, but I became friends with everybody too. But there's something called fraternization on the ship. And so, like, you're not supposed to fraternize with the enlisted if you're an officer, right? Or up and down your chain of command. And one time I went out and I stayed out late and I came back to the ship and I got put on something called liberty restriction, which means when we go into a foreign country, Kaleo was one of the people that wasn't allowed to leave, right? No, you're not allowed to go out. And I remember sitting down and having a fireside chat or just a leadership talk. And he was like, hey, I'm hard on you because I believe in you. I think you have a lot in you. And he said, this is the one lesson I would teach you that I want you to get very clear on. He said, when you step off this ship, you think you're 21-year-old Kaleo Kina. He was like, you think that you're the civilian, you're the college kid that just graduated, you're just Kaleo Kina. He was like, and yet, every time you step on the ship to our people, you're Officer Kina. And so every action you take outside of this ship, you need to reframe. Is this how Officer Kina wants to be presented in front of his people? Or is Kaleo Kina going down the wrong path, right? And I think that has applied ever since, in that if I'm a basketball coach for a high school I'm coaching at, how do I want them to see me, right? If I'm a business leader for my team, how do I want them to see me? If I'm a father, a husband, how do I want people to see me? And it has become very important that, similar in basketball, it doesn't matter the name on my back, it's the name on the front. How am I representing CoVA? How am I representing the Kina family? How am I representing our friendship, Jesse, when I'm speaking about you and you're not there to other people? Like, there's the things that I learned, that like your framing in life is super important. And so when I stand out to the world, depending on the relationship, who am I in that moment? Am I just Kaleo Kina, the person? And there are spaces with our 3D monthly group where we're able to be more candid, right? And open.
Yeah.
And I'm never not telling the truth, but there's a version of yourself that has to show up in the right way for you to kind of move the way you want through your universe.
That's a big thing right there that a lot of people struggle with. I, for one, struggle with it up until about a year or so ago. Of when you get certain titles, when you get into certain positions, it is not you, the individual, anymore. It is you as a representation of the brand, of the brokerage, of the company. Like,
Absolutely.
the way you move is a representation where people are not just going to look at you; they're going to look at everything. And it is more highlighted when you are a leader, when
Yes,
you are this and that. So again, for you all that's listening, that's the thing with maneuvering through growth. When you grow, it's not 100% about you anymore. It's about the environment, the team that you're on. Like you said, it's not the name on the back, it's the logo, the name on the front that you're a representation of. So anybody that feels that and feel like they're the only one that struggle with that, you're not. This is just something that comes with the territory of growth and being a part of a bigger mission that is, again, it's about the team and it's not just the individual person.
absolutely. And I think, we've been in these conversations, these high level convos, like a lot of times it'll be like, well, I want to be authentically me, and this and this and that. And like, I ain't trying to be fake or whatever it is. And nobody's asking you to not to be inauthentic. Nobody's telling you to be fake. We're just saying, or I'm just saying, that there is a version that is going to maximize your ability to get what you want out of life, right? And so, if I'm back home from my high school reunion, maybe they'll get West Side K, from West Side Phoenix, and I flash back into some moments of memories and stuff. But if I'm at my child's, reception, they're getting the father figure K. I want to be respectful. I want my son to see me show up, right? If you see me on the court and we're playing against each other, it's probably going to be a K you've never seen before, because my level of communication in life is really good. My level of communication in shit talking is superior. It's elite,
You
right? And so,
are you are like you are a grade A level shit talker. I will say that you are. You are
I
for
think
real.
that, like, there's authentic versions of you in every seat, man. And so, well, I tell people, it's not about that. It's about what version do you need to have to create the best, whatever it is you want from that relationship or that environment. That's how you should show up.
Yeah, and to that point is it's growth. Like when you grow as a person, you're not that same person as you were from the West Side K and the high school K, then to Division 1 to the mid. Like these are different stages, different growth levels. So when people say, "Oh, I don't want to be fake," no, you're not being fake. You're just at a different level in your life. You're at a different stage.
Mhm.
You went from being perfect example. If somebody go from being an employee, now you graduate to being a manager, then you the district manager. It's like those are different levels where you're changing, you're growing. So the way you were as an employee is not going to be 100% the same way you are as a manager because your responsibilities, your duties are different. That you're still that same person, but you had to grow, and that's what got you there was that growth. And I think a lot of people they don't think about that because I had a conversation with somebody who wanted me to coach him, and he like, man, I feel like I'm being fake because I'm doing this. I'm like, no, you're growing. Like you're not being fake. You're growing from being an agent that did this to now you're an agent doing this, and your goal is here. You're gonna have to grow to get there.
Absolutely. No,
You know.
absolutely.
And speaking about that, what would be some of the things you would talk to people? Because one of the things, so Breakthrough Blueprint is a class, and from the class came the podcast, and we break down some of the stuff. And with this conversation, it made me think about the part of the class of when people's standards are here and their goals are here. So I think about that when people feel like they're being fake. Like, no, you're not being fake. You're growing because your standards needs to match the goal that you want to get to. Is there any advice or anything that you would share with people about making sure their standards align with their goal?
Yeah, I think bridging that gap is like the real kicker in that example is if your standards are here, but your goals are here, you are being fake because you're
Oh,
not willing to increase your standards to match the goal that you want.
mhm.
Right? And so in most cases, it's not the question isn't can you do it, right? Most people will default to, oh, I can do it. I really, really want it. The real question is, are you willing to do it? Right. And I had a mentor once challenge me. He says, it's not just even if you're willing to do it, or if you can, or if you're willing to do it. He said, but are you willing to do it? Dot 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 for as long as it takes.
Mm,
And so that was a kicker that like a small shift in mindset of like, we live in a world of instant gratification. So I'm willing to do it, but I need to see the result of the thing right now. And yet in the grand scheme of life, sometimes it takes a little bit longer than you feel comfortable with. And the real question is, are you willing to do it for as long as it takes to get it done? Because if you're not willing to do it for as long as it takes, then you're not even going to be in the game anyway. And the hard part is we often don't know how long it's going to take, right? We got to be willing to invest that time and effort. And so when somebody next time asks you that standard and goal gap, the real thing is at that moment, they are being fake because they're not willing to change their standards to meet the goals that they want. And it's easy for me. I'm a big proof of concept guy. So it's like, if you believe that your level of effort is here and that you can achieve this goal here, great. Go find me the three people that are giving your level of effort and achieving that goal. Then we'll just create a plan around how you can do it too. But if you're telling me that you want this goal and you can't go find anybody here, then what are we talking about? Right? You can be the first one. We can talk about it, but that's all we're probably going to do. I mean, humans have been around for so long. It's very rare occasion are you going to want or do something that somebody else hasn't already wanted or
right.
done, right? And so unless like you're Elon Musk and you're creating some stuff to go to Mars or something, I don't know, but you know, go show me some people that have done it or got close to doing it and how you can make it better. But yeah, in that moment, I would challenge that they are being fake because they're lying to themselves about the level of work or standards they need to keep to achieve a goal that they say they want.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because you just said something, and people want that instant gratification, and we're on our fitness journey. Like we're like our whole group is like doing it together. And you said something like, "Are you willing to do it as long as it takes?" And not that instant gratification. What is the purpose behind it? And then a lot of times, let's take fitness forward. You'll get a lot of people that I'm working out, I'm eating right because I'm going to Miami. oh, because I'm going on this or I'm doing that, and it's like the purpose behind you working out is not, it's not going to sustain you during those times when you want to go eat a pizza or you don't want to work out. And when you have a real meaning behind it, it's like I don't care how long this takes. I'm gonna get healthy. I'm gonna change my lifestyle because I want to be around for the kids. I want to be able to do this. And for a lot of us, it's funny. A lot of our switch came around when we saw pictures.
Hmm.
And like saw a picture, like holy shit! Like I saw that picture of myself, and then like okay, I got to change that. But to your point, it's like I am going to do this no matter how long it takes, and it's not no, oh, until I go to Miami or until I go to
Hmm.
the Bahamas. It's going to be no, this is my lifestyle change, and I think that's a big thing that people don't pay attention to and realize. And I'm glad you said that. Like, are you willing to do this for as long as it takes for you to get the goals you want to get to? And you have to keep going past that to keep it of what you got.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we see all the little Instagram memes and examples, but like Usain Bolt, trained 23 years for 6 second race, right? Or like
Mhm.
I talk about being in college Division 1 basketball, and yet I put 16 years of playing basketball all the time and countless practice hours to get that opportunity. Or, even leading this organization, CoVA, it's been an amazing experience. And yet, bro, I had 12 years of leadership experience in the Navy. Like I had 12 years of learning how to lead that to translate to a business. And so, it's one of those things that the different stages of our lives allow us to be different things, right? And I think that as you get older, you care about it more because unfortunately, like our time on earth expires. And the older you are, the closer you are to the expiration button, right? And it becomes more real. We know when we were 13, 14, 15, we're unstoppable. Like nothing in life can phase us. Even in your 20s, like you're living a version of life that you might not even be mature enough to comprehend what's going or not going on. Like you're just moving and grooving. Your body is, you're taking your body, like there's things your recovery, your ability to burn fat, like, and then as you get older, a lot of those benefits start to trail off and it becomes more prominent. And so, like, I think, people say it's corny or like foo or not trying to get crazy, but you got to find a different version of your why, right? Like
Yeah.
I worked out more than I ever worked out in high school and college because I wanted to play Division 1 basketball and be great. And then when I lost that, it was kind of like I wanted to just look good and party, And then once I had my family, it became a lot about making monetary gains financially to support my family. And then I woke up one day and my son is 7 and he wants to play basketball. And I realized I'm not moving like I should be able to move at 37 years old, right? And I'm like, if I want to be alongside him for the journey and give him all the potential benefits of having a father who played high level, like then I need to get my act right and get back in shape. And so, and I'm somebody who's been around sports and fitness and things for my whole life, right? And so I know what to do and what not to do. And it wasn't until recently where I really found my why is I have 5 kids under 7, and, like, I wanna be able to play around with them outside and not just go sit outside and watch them play. I wanna jump on the court with them and show them what hard work looks like, and so, yeah, and a lot of the inspiration came to you, so shout out to Coach Coleman on the call. I know he's been disappearing, but gaining muscle mass and looking good online in his journey, and I started in February. It's what, March now? I was 279 in February or 276, 279 at the top of the year, but I'm 259 today. And
Yes,
hopefully
sir.
it's trending on down, baby. I'm trying to get down as fast as I can for June 29th, which will be my birthday. And my goal is to smack my son in one-on-one, and we're going to play up to 15. And I just want to be ready and prepared to get after him. So,
Yes,
and do
man.
that on my birthday every year until he can beat me, which will probably and hopefully be never. But dad's going to make sure he's in shape. You know what I'm saying? So we got to find our why on our own journey, and it comes at different phases in life.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. You just said you know, one of your kids, because your kids are at the same stage too. The youngest one not too much, that they are going to do as we do and not as we say. So he's seeing you put in that work. He see you doing it. That's going to have him like, okay, I got to do it. I got to do it too. Because it's different when Pop's like, all right, go to practice, work out, do that, and you just sitting there not doing nothing. But now you're moving, you're doing the things. They're like, oh, okay. And he's thinking the same thing. Like, okay, I got to work out because I want to beat Pops. Like, I'm going to beat him. And it's just one of those things where it's that lead by example that you talk about that you like doing of, I got to lead by example. He's going to see me putting in that work. So now he's going to put in that work too, because one, he want to be like me and he want to, he want to be great, and two, he gonna want to beat me, so he's gonna do exactly what I'm doing. And that's the shift that we make as parents of, we can't just say things, we got to actually do it and put the action behind it also,
Oh
right?
yeah. Our kids are watching us all the time, right? And they are mimicking whether we believe it or not. And it is something, again, if I love my kids the way I say I do, like, am I setting an example for them of what it's like to be an athlete, to be a dad, to be in love with each other, to show up for each other as the Kina family, right? Like, how do we show up as family members? How do we show up in school? How do we show up at work? Right? How do we show up for anything? And so it's
Yeah.
like, I care about those things. And not everybody has to, but like I know that in my experience, I had a lack of an example. And my kids will not have a lack of an example. I'll be the best example I can be. And a huge testament to my wife, give her a shout out. I couldn't have any of this life that I have without her supporting the home. And so, finding a good partner in business and personally, I mean, I think can definitely help, expedite or make you have the best life you could absolutely have for sure.
Right. And so let's take that shift to business side. Like, you own multiple business, you run a team. How was that transition for you, of that transition from military based doing things to business owner? Because it seems like business owner, you have to be a little bit more personal and have a little bit more empathy, sort of say, than the military. I'm not from the military, so I'm not sure about that. But is there like a correlation with that, or what is that like?
Um, I think the correlation is like, one, the military allowed me to see what hard work, dedication, and commitment look like, right? And to execute a mission, like a real result. And so the first thing that it instilled was discipline. I mean, we had quarters at 6:30, we have entire work days, we had end of day reports. There's like a very systematic and structured chain of command to driving a result. And it was through people, right? And so I think it's called decentralized command, which is a form of leadership in which you empower the different leadership levels to make the best
Mm.
decisions they can make at the time. So it's not about you micromanaging. It's about you developing leaders in a way that you trust their decisions to make in the seats that they are sitting in. Right. And so I think that combined with, I played basketball at a super high level. And so I understand the roles and responsibilities of a team. Everybody wants to be a leading scorer. Just so you know, on any team, there's only one leading scorer. There's only one leading rebounder, right? And all those things. And oftentimes, your team captain probably isn't the leading scorer. It's the best teammate that can orchestrate the entire team, which is why point guards or now point forwards are so important. I mean, they're actually manipulating the game through different actions and activities,
Right.
which results in somebody being a leading scorer or this many points. And so I really learned how to fit into a team and to drive results through others, through sports and through the military. And it's allowed me. And then I was a leading scorer my senior year. I know what it's like to try to score 20 points every game and somebody trying to game plan to stop you from scoring 20 points over every game. So I had to, manipulate coverages, get through double teams, understand different defenses because they're going to guard me differently, right? And so, like, when somebody's trying to stop you and you're trying to overcome them, you just learn how to be resilient and solution based. All right, they do this, I do that. They do that, I do this. Like, you always mix it up. And so when I got to business, the first thing was, how do you become a top producer? Well, the first thing is, how can I get as much education as possible that I know that I can put in real practice, right? And we talked about it. Practice does make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So how can I learn all the right things to make myself a right operator? Then after I believe I know the right things, it's like, how can I go produce a result at a high level, which then you get to become a top producer, right? And then it became, well, how can I lead other people? And that's when you start building a team. And then I got to a point of like, how can I go partner with other people to create a bigger result? Because I believe in the power of people, right? So then I went and got a partner, right? And so in all of my businesses, I have a key employee or a key partner. So in my personal life, I have an amazing wife that keeps us going, and our trajectory is as big as we want to go. In CoVA Collective Realty, I have an amazing partner in Megan Anderson, who was a huge top producer on her own before we merged. And then I have key partners in our settlement company, in our mortgage company, and our home insurance company that were previous producers in my world in different aspects that took a bigger opportunity to try to learn to lead. Right. And so I think it's kind of, I view it as like a 4 year run of like, year one is how much can you learn as fast as possible. Year two is how much can you produce and be a proof of concept. Year three, right, is how can you be a leader and how can you grow in leadership. And then year four, right, you get to leverage. You earn the right to have leverage through your business or through people. And so I used to call it CoVA College, but when people join me, I'm like, the path to your best version or biggest life is at a minimum 4 years. And so if you don't
Right.
want to commit a 4 year, I mean, we do it for college, we do it for high school, like a minimum of 4 years to become the person you need to become. It might take longer. You might be super great, and it might take you. You might validate some classes, graduate early. You have the opportunity to do that, but you have to be committed to your education, to driving a big result, to leading at a high level before you can earn the opportunity for real leverage. Because I don't believe there's leverage without leadership, and we usually do that through people because you can only do so much time and capacity, right? And so
Yeah.
you need people for sure.
And that goes back to what you talked about earlier, where you like to build on relationships. You like to have people because that is where you're able to your growth, and that's why you are where you are because like you had a partner in your business, you had your wife, and then the settlement company, F, just being open to building relationships and then having those relationships and getting those key relationships. So that's the thing too. I want you people, that's listening to think about it. It's relationships, and then you have your key relationships. Your key relationships are those people that, like A and K just said, hey, we were able to start a business. This person became my partner. That you were able to highlight the people from those relationships. Like, okay, this is somebody I can go into business with
Hmm.
because you were open to having those relationships with people and getting to know them. So for you all that struggle with that or think you can do it on your own or you don't need people, Kay is a perfect example of people can help you grow. And Emmerich, he said it before. Relationships will take you to places money can't.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And ever since he said that, I'm like, that is true. Like your relationships, your key relationships can do things for you that money can't do for you. And again, you just have to make sure you're showing up as the best version of yourself for people to want to be in your sphere, be in your world with you, right?
I think Emmerich said it, or maybe another big guy, but they pretty much said like your environment is the invisible hand that shapes behavior, right? And so when we talk about relationships, a lot of times our close knit relationships are the ones that are dictating how big or small we're living our life. And that's not a positive or negative thing. It just is a thing, right? And so are you surrounding yourself with people that are trying to conquer the world? Are you surrounding yourself with people that are content with this level of life and that's okay? Or are you surrounding yourself with some knuckleheads and you value their relationship because they have some love for you, but they're not really moving forward in life, right? And so sometimes we got to really have some self awareness and self conversation about what environment are we putting ourselves in, right? And then the second part is every day we live our life, we're marketing ourselves and advertising ourselves for future relationships because now we can see people more than ever online, and people are making subconscious decisions on if that's somebody worth getting into a relationship with. And
Right.
so how are you showing up in the world in your first introduction in person? How are you communicating? Like, to me, the biggest pool or opportunity is people, and people are everywhere. And so I'm always paying attention to how people show up in different situations because that can be, I truly believe you're one relationship away from changing your life. You just got to find it.
And you say something, and when you teach and present, you say this that you need three people in your life, right? The person that pulls you up, the person that's right next to you on the journey, and then the person that you're pulling up.
Absolutely.
And you say that, and that sticks with me so much. Like, okay, Jesse, who in your world is helping pull you up? Now, who are you next to on the ladder that you're motivating each other with? And who are you pulling up? Because it's those three things, and that goes back to you saying like those relationships that you have. That is not just. It's the beauty of it is it's not just taking, 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 or just giving, giving, giving. You're balancing yourself out. Like I'm getting from them, we're on the same level, and I'm giving back to them to help you keep moving and help you keep going.
Absolutely. Yep, that's the three tenets. As you said it perfectly. I'm not even going to restate it.
I mean, you say it, and again, you say it, and it stuck with me when you say it like that. That's it. That's the way. I know, especially for me, is that's the way you keep growing. Have somebody that's pulling you up, the person you're next to, working through things, and then the people that you're pulling up as well to help.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
and it doesn't need to just be one person, right?
Yeah.
It could be groups of people, right? But you said it perfectly. You know, one person that's living the life that you want to live or lives by the moral and value code that you live by, that is growing and like you're inspired and motivated by. You know, other killers in the boat with you that you might be going on different goals, but you guys are driving the same direction. Like you want to go get it, right? You keep each other inspired. You're in the boat together. And then, how be a leader, be a ladder. How can you help other people be bigger and reach obtainable goals? And I always make a joke whenever I help people or they, we conversate and I can see them starting to go. It's like, hey man, don't forget about me when you get to the top. You know what I'm saying? And so, but it's a lovely in giving, you're always receiving. That's the beauty of the world.
Yes, sir. My dog, Agent K. I always ask people to leave one last thought or advice for the people that's listening. What would be that advice or last thought for our listeners?
I'm just going to capitalize on what you brought at the end. Like, I really would love if you are looking at relationships and trying to identify what are the relationships that are going to help me level up. You should really evaluate your world from those three lenses. Highlight a group of people or persons that inspire you or motivate you, or as living a version of a life that you want, that you think that you want to go after or chase, right? Then list a group of people that are actually in the boat, that are driving a result, that want something as big as you want or whatever it is you want. And then list a group of people that show up in such a way you want to show up for them and that you would love the opportunity to bring them value. Right. And once you get those three levels of people, just get very specific and intentional. And I would challenge you, like, you should email them or text them or call them today or whenever you get the chance, and just let them know that I was doing a life evaluation on the power of relationships and the ones that I think that are going to inspire me, and let them all know where they stand. Like, I would love the opportunity to grow as big as you or whatever, and keep leading from the front because it's somebody like me that's looking. Reach out to a couple people and be like, hey, I see how you show up every day. This is the result I'm trying to drive. If you ever want to collaborate or mastermind, let's do it together because I'm trying to win at all costs. And then the rest of the people, just hit them up. And I think that in that gratitude of that moment of thanking them for just being in your world in some form or fashion, it'll get you started on trying to capitalize on what relationships in your life can help you grow.
My dog, I appreciate you. I this was another episode where I'm like, oh, I gotta cut it. I can't keep going because we would have been going for a whole nother hour. But I appreciate you, my brother. Thanks for taking the time out for dropping some gems on the listeners. I'll definitely put like information about the team. So if anybody has any real estate needs in the Virginia Beach area, I'll put the information down in the description. And thanks for rocking with me for another week of Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast where we help you tap into your full potential. See you next week. Peace.
Fresh